1937. I did not ask my mother to give birth that year, but I'll take you around a little bit what was happening during these times. That a child was born in 1937, what was happening in the world. Well, in 1937, Zev Jabotinsky, may he rest in peace, was one of the great Zionist leaders, testified before the Peel Commission. And he said to the people in Peel Commission, I see an earthquake confronting the Jews. A cataclysm. He did not use the word Holocaust because this came later. Please allow the Jews to come to Israel. There's no hope for the Jews in Europe. Zabotinsky was probably one of the first ones to see the Holocaust coming. The great Chofetz Chaim was one of the greatest men of our time, was known for the Lashon Hora and so on. Before he died, he was crying like a child. And people who saw him cry asked him, Rabbi, why are you crying? He says, I see dark clouds. And he said in Yiddish, was gewesen das erste Weltmilchome, was seine Kinderspiel, was seine das zweite Weltmilchome. What happened in the First World War will be kids' stuff, what will happen in the Second World War. And then they asked him, so what's going to happen? He says, Behar Zion tiyeh ha'pleita. The Jewish refuge is going to be Behar Zion in Eretz Yisrael. In America, those of your grandparents came, the doors were closed already by 1937. In 1924, it was closed already by the Karen Act of 1924. Intellectuals came out already, the president of Harvard and other places came out. We had enough of those Jews from Eastern Europe, or the Italians. We had enough, they're polluting America. And throughout influence and so on, the doors in America were closed. Wohin soll gehen? Where should we go? As alle Türen sind vermacht von mir, all the doors were closed. On top of that, in 1939, the white paper was passed again. Very few people could come to Israel. The only doors were open to the Jews now, either go to Russia, escape, or to go to the concentration camps eventually. America suffered a Great Depression, no question about it. But America, after the First World War, said we have to come to normalcy. Enough of this progressive movement of Wilson. We have to come to isolate ourselves from the world. And what did the world produce? A Hitler in Germany, a Mussolini in Italy, a Stalin in Russia, a Tojo in Japan. They take the ship. No one, they ran the world. And Hitler made it clear in 1924 in the Karen Act, in the Mein Kampf, he's going to destroy the Jews. Albert Boiling thought of America a Treife Land. It's not a place for Jews in America. And so Lester Eckman was born in this kind of environment. Lester Eckman's father was in the kosher meat business. supplied kosher meat in a suburb of Vilna, Ilya. It's a very well-known suburb. On Hanukkah night, 1939, they knocked at the door, and the NKVD came and said to my father, "You're under arrest." What did I do? You're a capitalist. You're selling kosher meat. That's not the communist way of doing things. When my mother tried to defend him, they pushed her on the floor and they took away my father. My father was left us with 3 small children. My older sister was 11, next sister was 10, another sister was 5. I was not even 4 years old. Well, God has given me a good memory, but I remember everything what happened during that episode. My mother tried to go and find out what happened to the father. She went to Minsk. She had cousins there who became communist, and they said to her, Mama Eckman, geh ja heim zu deinen Kindern. Go home to your children. Du wirst schön sein, dein Mann. You will not see your husband. The world was crazy. And one Jew was a communist, another Jew. Even the intellectuals of our time. Sigmund Freud wrote a book, Moses and Monotheism. But what did he say about Moshe Rabbeinu? The Egyptian. Moses the Egyptian. He was ashamed to say that Moshe Rabbeinu was a Jew. The big five of Russia, Lenin, had Zinoviev, Kamenev, Trotsky, who really engineered the revolution. But Stalin came and knocked them off. The Jews did not have a leadership. They were disunited. And so children like me were caught in the middle without leadership. 2 million of us, 2 million. Today I'm the only surviving boy, I'll call it man, of 80 in my town. The only one. And so when my mother was trying to find out what happened to my father, my elderly grandfather was the babysitter. He came with a white beard. He was already in the 90s, with the Gemara, and he held me on the lap. And somehow till this day I remember this, how we started Gemara and sang. And somehow sang on in my head. At that time I did not know that I would start the Gemara. I did not know. But soon the word spread. People should not associate with the widow or with the woman Eckman, Mrs. Eckman, with the family. Because her husband is a criminal. Well, my father joined a selective group of criminals. He was together with Menachem Begin, also a criminal. But Menachem Begin was a lawyer, so he argued with the NKVD, said, what wrong did I do? If I practice Zionism, but in Poland, we were allowed to be a Zionist. So I'm innocent. My father, they questioned him, so he said, Asher yesh b'secha, you know. I would not hear from my father till later on. And so somehow miracles happen, even in time of adversity, in time of most horrible time and period, miracles happen. Somehow my mother took 4 children without a knowledge what she's going to do with them, what to go, and left Egypt. And so we became the wandering Jew. Not venat, no home, no social security. Another miracle happened that my dying sister, now 90 years old, at the age of 11, she learned how to make sweaters. I give Holocaust courses already for 50 years. And maybe in a class of 30 students, maybe there's hardly one student can make a sweater. But here was a girl at the age of 11 was making sweaters, knew how to make sweaters. In 2 days. So my mother could take the sweater and sell it and get some food. Since we celebrate today Mother's Day, I don't want to spoil your good happiness. I'm not going to talk too much how was life during this time, but just a couple days I'll describe you. There was no heat. My job at the age of 4 was to find a piece of wood, a dung, cow's dung, and make some kind of fire. Whatever room we could find was cold. There was no showers. In the morning you woke up, you were greeted by wolves, coyotes. And so a year became a year, a week became a year. And one thing my mother did, said to us, you are Jewish kids. Thank God I have so many rabbis in my family, you know. Every week I have another wedding there. Akil Kotler is in my family. Rabbi Bender is in the family. Rabbi Chaim Epstein just passed away ago and was in my family. I have 5 generations of Rosh Yeshivas. And one of the greatest of them all was Beryl Staroben, my mother's nephew. And my mother said, Weizerke, ich hab gehabt a Plemenik. Beryl Staroben, a Goyen. He was a Rosh Yeshiva with Rabbi Kotler in Kresk. And when Rabbi Kotler left for America, he took over the yeshiva, and he and his Talmidim were burnt alive by the Nazis. So I came from this kind of family. My mother tried to keep up Yiddishkeit. I did not know the Aleph base, but I knew I was a Jew. The other thing I can tell you, 4 of the children, myself and all 3 children, and sisters, we got sick with the typhoid, a terrible bacterial disease. There were no penicillin, no antibiotics, no doctors. But my mother was really, I can say this Mother's Day, I like to tell she was a Yiddish Shemama. She did not sleep nights and days. She was a heavy-set woman, you know, with a lot of energy. So if people think that diet is good for you, I don't think so. You got to be healthy. Not too fat, but he had to be healthy. My mother was a 200-pounder before the war started. But she was able to stand up and take care of 4 children. Through a miracle, we recovered. Through a miracle, we recovered. Well, the war was ending, and we were liberated by the Russians. And the Russians made my mother a very good offer. You have 4 children, and you can go back to Poland where you came, or you can come to Russia. We'll educate your children, and whatever you want, we'll give it to you. But as I said, my mother was a religious woman. She said, "Niet, I want to go back to Poland, back to home." She knew that many of your relatives already died. But she did not want to go stay in Russia. So she took her 4 children, and we went to Stettin, which became part of Poland. And by 1945-46, a lot of people from Eastern Europe began to go to Stettin and to the displaced person camps. And so my mother took, for the children, we went there. We went to Stettin, and the first thing my mother did was try to find a place, a cheder, something to give me some Jewish education. She said, "I want you to know how to say Kaddish after your father." So there was about 10, 15 young boys, there were no girls. Ages 15, 12 survived. There was a Rebbe, and he began to teach us as the other ways. Now, I studied in Harvard, I studied in Columbia with the greatest professors. But this Rebbe really installed in us motivation. You are the only survivors. You are the future of the Jewish people. You got to study. It took me 1 week to study the Siddur. 1 week, that's all I had. Second week, I started already Chumash. The same year, I started Gemara. Not that I'm so brilliant, but I'm not stupid. But the motivation was there. There was a cause why we had to study. My younger sister, she was then 16, 17, was recruited by Ante Zuckerman of the Warsaw Ghetto, who survived the Warsaw Ghetto, was assistant to Matra Anilevich. She joined the Bricha to try to bring people from Eastern Europe, partisanim and so on, and to go illegally to Israel. She was in charge of food, my sister Faye, may she rest in peace. And one day, showed up an old man and asked her, "Do you know a family Eckman?" And she looked him straight in his eyes. And that was my father. Somehow, he survived the war. It's another story how he survived and so. And so, my father reunited with us. He looked like he was 90 years old. Frozen fingers and so on. And he remembered he had an uncle in Boston. Anybody is from Boston here? No one from Boston?
Just you.
Huh?
I have a brother.
Uh-huh. Anyway, There was a store in the Boston area on Tremont Street. There was Farlene's and Jordan Marsh. And in the middle was a store by the name of Coleman's Fashion Shop. This uncle came to America, a poor boy, and God helped him became rich. He had over hundreds and hundreds of people working for him. He was a Talmud Chacham. My father wrote him in Yiddish a postcard, and my uncle, Sam, answered the postcard. And he told us to try to get to the American zone, to the big camps there, and he'll try to bring us to America. Well, you know, we could not come to America illegally like we have now 11 million illegal immigrants. We had to wait back on the Moshe 5 years to get to the Golden Medinas. My uncle sent us packages, and my Sima, older sister, decided to become a nurse. So she studied nursing in Germany and was helping hundreds and hundreds of people. And Faye was now with the Bericha, helping the people. Well, I was 9 years old. I was learning Gemara. I went to a DP camp called Rachel. In the meantime, I was in a camp, Feldefing. And Feldefing was a camp, 6,000 survivors. For the first time, we celebrated the Yom Tov Yom Kippur. And Brother Chazan was saying, and after that came a great man, David Ben-Gurion, 46, to speak to us. Ani bati im kisim rekim, spoken Hebrew to us. I came with empty pockets. I have no certificates for us to bring you to Israel. Israel is not a country. But I will give you a tikva, faith, hope. And Ben-Gurion could not sing. He came with a Reform rabbi, Rabbi Herbert Friedman. I don't know if you heard of him. I got to give some credit to Reform rabbis. One of them was Joseph, what's his name, Klausner. Both of them from Los Angeles area. And Klausner came to the concentration camp Buchenwald. And while there were doctors and others trying to help the people there, he felt bad he couldn't do anything. He was just a rabbi. But when he spoke, somehow he heard a voice saying, I have a brother who went to America and he became a rabbi. And that was Klausner's brother who was in the concentration camp in Buchenwald. And he started trying Rabbi Klausner. And he decided to make a book, putting all Holocaust survivors. We have that book, the Pinkas, and trying to find relatives that could match. And the other Reform rabbi did an impossible job. We had to cross borders the Polish border, the Russian borders to get places. And the black market was cigarettes. He was called up by a woman to come to Paris. He was 27 years old, this rabbi. He said, what do I have to lose? I'll go to see this lady. He was single. And she says, I have an assignment for you. Would you take it? He said, well, what is the assignment? You will have to get cigarettes. A pack of cigarettes was $15. A carton was $150. And we are going to import people from the Russia and Poland to borders, and we'll have to pay the policemen, the guards, and so on. Now I had to cross these borders. There's thousands and thousands of dollars had to be raised to satisfy the crooks, you know, the guys, the borders, police, and so on. But he did it. Our generation doesn't have the fullest idea about what's happening here. They don't know it. So, well, I don't agree sometimes with the reform movement, many things. But some of those boys, the rabbis, they did marvelous work, helping Jews to cross the borders and so on. When I wrote a book on Menachem Begin, and Menachem Begin to Hadassah was a criminal, a terrorist. He was never invited by any organization to speak Menachem Begin. I made 100 speeches about Menachem Begin in the hotels and so on. And there was a guy, Schindler, a reform guy also liked Begin. So the moral of the story is, you know, Exodus and so on, people were trying to go to Israel. So there's 3 years, 1945 to 48. Momentous years. Never happened in the history of the Jewish people, in the world. From Auschwitz, 6 million Jews yesterday, 2 million children, a land of Israel is going to be born. I remember it very well. And something happened to me. There's now established Beit Sefer Tarbut, teaching Hebrew. To my regret, rabbis do not know how to write Hebrew. Very few people know how to write Hebrew today, to speak Hebrew. But there were some survivors from the old Holocaust came and they learned, and I learned Hebrew. To read poetry by Chaim Bialik, Emra Tzipor, Shalichowski Zani Mamin. So the Rebbe used to say to my mother, Mrs. Eckman, how can you send your kid to the yeshiva to Cheder to study Gemara and to Beit Sefer Tarbut, Shomer HaTzayir, and study the Hebrew language? So you know what my mother said? Rebbe, where were you during the war to take care of my child, to give him a piece of bread? You teach him Gemara, and he will go to Beit Sefer Tarbut and learn Hebrew. The best education that I ever got. When I went to Boston University on a full scholarship, the chairman, an Italian guy, was the chairman 30 years, and I was only a 19-year-old. I said, Professor Merlino, I'm a Holocaust survivor. We have over 15,000 Jewish students here. You don't even have a Hebrew language course here. Was it such discrimination? So he says to me, Eckman, you're the first one to ask for it. And I am responsible for Elie Wiesel having a job in Boston University all these years. Because I had a big mouth and for fight for that to deserve it, to teach Hebrew. So I had a very excellent education in Germany after the war. Spoke Hebrew, Yiddish, Russian, Polish. Well, why not Israel? Well, my uncle sent us papers to come to America. And this is another story. His daughter married a man by the name of Bloomberg. Bloomberg. I just finished the book honoring my uncle. And I was looking for pictures of my uncle. Didn't have any pictures. So I figured somebody must be alive from the family. So his grandchild is alive, Jeffrey Bloomberg. I call up, he's a big shot, Harvard graduate in business. I say, Jeffrey, can you send me pictures of your grandfather? He says, Lester, are you still alive? He says, yes, I'm writing a book about you and your grandfather. Well, what can I do for you, Lester? I said, that's all I want is pictures of the relatives that brought us out of this country. Then I said to him, by any chance are you related to Mayor Bloomberg? Of course, he's my relative. I said, how are you relative? He's related to my father, Bloomberg, who married my mother. And Bloomberg's father taught my father bar mitzvah. No, it's a small world. Anytime you want to meet Mayor Bloomberg, I'll make you an appointment to see him. Life became bright suddenly. We got the visa, we came to America. What a country, what a country. The eyes became big. Do I want to become a multimillionaire? What do I want to do in this life? Yeah, I saw Harvard University, the greatest place in the world. Did I ever thought that I'll step in Harvard University? Did I ever thought that I'll study in Columbia University with the greatest historians that ever lived, Professor Sarah Baron? No, I did not dream. But when I came in to see them, they were impressed. Neusner, was a crazy guy, Neusner. He was in Brown University, wrote a lot of books. I said, Jack, you know, Brown doesn't take in yeshiva guys in that school. I don't understand. What do you have against yeshiva bochum? He says, chas v'sholem. I cannot find them that they really know how to learn a blood Gemara and really write a good paper. Both educated. I say, I know some boys who can do it. That year, with his help, we got in 5 yeshiva bocharim in Brown University, including my son, Dr. Eckman. He's one of the first ones to get into Brown. Today he's a very fine doctor. I can tell you, not because of my son. Not only did he study to be a doctor, but he also studied for a PhD in history in Columbia. He studied Yeshiva University. He was a professor in Johns Hopkins for 18 years. I brainwashed him a little bit, you know. It worked. So, I was not a rich man. I did not look for money. But I picked to write a dissertation on the Chofetz Chaim. 10 years. went through. Why the Chofetz Chaim? Here's a man who is concerned with how one talks about Lashon Hara, purity. Even the Rambam was not concerned with this. And when I told the professors that I want to write a book at him, they were astounded. And yet we had a Hitler, the most educated country in the beginning of the 20th century, produced Beethoven or Mozart and all these hilarious there. But they learned they were brainwashed to kill innocent people. This was happening in the Arab world today. Killing people is a big mitzvah. And when the rabbis asked me, you going to write a book on the Chofetz Chaim in Colombia and this and that? I said, why not? Now the Goyim know that there's such a one like the Chofetz Chaim. I got fellowships 3 summers at Harvard University, sitting right on the Chofetz Chaim. And the book was immediately published. And then another book and so on. And so my friends, America was a wonderful country for me. I found a nice wife, an American woman. But then came the '67 war. And while we saying this, and so we prayed, the world did not listen to us. The Arabs in my class, I have students who are Arabs, have argued Yerushalayim belongs to them. After all, Ishmael was the Proch of Avram, belongs to them. And what I have decided that with my good friend Simcha Ras of Israel, we decided to publish books, Eretz Hamdah, everything what the Chazal have to say about Eretz Yisrael. And another book that we published was Jerusalem, the Eternal Bond, or everything about Yerushalayim, and also in Hebrew. And we spent a lot of money on it, but the book went sold. I felt I had to do something for Eretz Yisrael, for Yerushalayim. Not just talk, but actions to speak the little words. There's not very little written about Yerushalayim in the Quran, very little. And with God's help, in '67, Yerushalayim was in the hands of the Jewish people. The first song that I learned, Me'al Pisgat HaSofim Shalom Lach Yerushalayim, Me'ad Dorot Cholamto Alayich Lisfot Lirot Kor Panayich. And when Yerushalayim was liberated, one of my cousins in Israel fought in Givat HaTachmoshet. All of you have been there. How dangerous it was to fight there. And he said to me, Eliezer, I was willing to die for Yerushalayim. Once you buy an apartment in Yerushalayim. I did not have money. But somehow I was able to borrow money and so on. And I bought one of the first apartments in Givat Zafatid, Yerushalayim. It's a Yerusha for my children, grandchildren. And that's why my thought is from Holocaust to Yerushalayim. I go there often, I pay taxes, I put up with all the guys who know everything. Come to Yerushalayim, I know nothing, absolutely nothing. But Yerushalayim is here to stay. But no president had the guts to do anything, to tell to the Arabs, fait accompli. 71% of Jews in America voted for Hillary. Yet came, as one Jew tells me, Trump der Jolt. A grover Jung, that's what they call the people call it at the time. But there's two presidents the Jews have to be forever grateful. Yeah. One is Truman. That Marshall said to him, Mr. President, don't you know your mathematics? 30 million Arabs can throw in 500,000 Jews into the sea. And you know, Mr. President, if you vote for recognition of Israel, I will not vote for you in the next election. The whole State Department was against Truman. And Truman decided to vote. Can you imagine that Roosevelt, with his power, he passed every law? By the way, I know American history more than 90% Americans know. I was the only one in high school to get a straight 100 in American history. Roosevelt could have taken in 500,000 children. 500 rabbis came to me, we didn't give him an appointment. A disgrace. I tell this to my students, the great Roosevelt could not let in some Jews in America. And here, Truman did it. And Trump did it. Yerushalayim. You see a picture of Ivanka davening near the Kotel HaMaravi. Got to give him recognition, my friends. Got to give him recognition. What he did. So the Arabs have no choice anymore. I tell them in my classes, listen, what Abbas is going to fight Trump? Come on. Or Gaza, what's happening there? So we have now Yerushalayim, yes, they will not accept it so quickly. But this is a big mess. And so, my friends, we cannot forget about what happened during the Holocaust. Im tishkach Yerushalayim, tishkach eminim. But we Jews have to be so grateful that Am Yisrael Chai. And again, I want to quote the Chofetz Chaim. When Bilam went to kill the Jews, he said, Tomot nafshi mot yishorim. He wants to die among the righteous. Chofetz Chaim said, "Shnish kan kun zu sterben wie Yid, sheh kun zu leben wie Yid." And we say in Harmel, "Lo yomur shkiach yeh ve'safa maseil." I don't want to die. I want to live and tell a story. We Jews have survived the greatest atrocities. And when I see Rabbi Kellemer is not here, but he's a good friend of mine. And it's a pleasure for me to be here, to meet some of you. I can tell you that coming to West Hempstead or to Long Island is a long trip. It's almost like a journey going, you know. But from time to time I come here to see my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law and so on. It's a pleasure to be here. And now I'll answer any questions that you have. Yes?
Beginning of the 20th century, Germany was the most liberal country to Jews, and you know what happened. Is there any reason why we should believe it can't happen here?
Well, it shows the power of Hitler. He was able to brainwash the country, and he used the economy. The Jews were always able to get along. No matter where they were able to understand. This is, you asked today, what is Jewish history? Gretz, Professor Gretz, or Dr. Gretz said in the 19th century, Jewish history is a history of persecutions and scholarship. I got a son to read Professor Sarah Baron and destroyed this theory. Baron in 1928 wrote a thesis, Jewish history is a history of culture, of religion, of acculturation to any environment. That Jews are able to adjust to new ways of life. And after the First World War, Jews became well off in Germany. And Hitler remarked, Germany was very punished after the First World War. And economically they starved and so on. And Hitler built up the country. And he used the Jews. Another reason is he wanted to be an artist. And the dean of the University of Art School in Vienna was a Jew. And he wrote a letter, you don't have the talent to be an artist. And please don't apply again. And that's another reason. And he took losers, a lot of losers, like Eichmann. Eichmann, after the war in Argentina, could not have a job and became big shots. We have now a problem with Poland. Poland is trying to become a kosher country. They did not collaborate too much with the Nazis. I don't want to say how much trouble in the Warsaw Ghetto, when the Warsaw Ghetto opened up, the Poles did not come to help. They were looking for gold and take away from the Jews. Of course, they collaborated with the Nazis. So Hitler was able to brainwash our people, and they were able to do the job. And the Jews did not have any friends. We don't have friends today. Even Trump has not said he's going to send 100,000 soldiers like they will send them in Vietnam, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan. Our boys have to fight. I have a grandson now that could have gone to Harvard Medical School. Instead, he goes to the tunnels and other places. At the age of 19, I met some of those boys. They are tzaddikim. They are tzaddikim, those boys. I said to them, every one of you, when you finish the army, whether in the United States or in Israel, I'll get you in any college you want. And I mean it. They are willing to die for us as well. This is the kind of boys that we have now in Israel.
The question was...
Can anybody imagine that Matura Carter, who was against Israel, against Zionism, or the Matura Carters today? The Zionist country of Israel supports them so they can sit and learn Torah and not go to the army. It's happening. Yes, you have a question.
No,
Who has it?
the gentleman wanted to know, can it ever happen here?
Can it ever happen here? Only God knows. I'm not a Novi. But I'm going to say to you one thing. We have another country where we can go. With Eretz Yisrael. We have Eretz Yisrael. Secondly, I don't believe the system of government that we have. We can bind the hands of the president, the Senate. America is a country that has a history of helping the underdog. The manifest destiny. I mean, we're not going to kick out 11 million illegal immigrants. We're not going to do it. They're going to stay here. I don't believe in America that a thing like this can happen. But we have to watch out for the people who are wanting to work hard in America and to pay taxes and not put up with people who want to come here and just get a free meal. There's many people here who work very hard, and they were neglected. Whoever thought that Trump is going to become president? Nobody foresaw it. But Hillary did not go to University of Pennsylvania. She didn't go to Michigan. She did not go to Wisconsin. She was 100% sure she was going to be elected. But Trump he went to the blue-collar people who did not make panosa. And this is what America is. I don't live on Park Avenue. I don't like Park Avenue. It's too rich for me. I don't like even Long Island.
Next question.
I have a nice place, Elizabeth. Next to me are Spanish guys who work hard. I have the train there, I have the buses. Nice yeshiva. What do I need Park Avenue for?
עוד שאלה.
עוד שאלה, עוד שאלה, עוד שאלה.
עוד שאלה.
יש עוד שאלות.
עוד ש-
Any other questions? No more questions. Okay, hopefully we'll see you again.
Okay.
Good.